Memorial Day was instilled in me by my father. He was one of the people, the reason why I said that, you know, I knew that they always had Memorial Day on the day it was supposed to happen. They would always have the parade, because when I was a kid, I wanted to hang out with my dad. I had to go to his parades, and I went to parades all over New England. He was a big VFW man. Later on, he was a member of the 10th Mass Civil War unit. But when he was with the VFW, he took it very seriously, my father.
This officially is known as Division 1. You can't fool me, I figured it out.
There was a morning, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're at the VFW, and they get word that the mayor's office is talking about canceling the parade. Well, a lot of these vets were World War II vets, and to them the idea of not having the parade on Memorial Day, the reaction that he and all these other people had, you know, nobody checked with the weather when they died. You know, nobody said, oh, you can't go to battle because it's raining, or we've got a little bit. So we actually, it was just the VFW, the American Legion, and the World War II unit clubs that marched that day. I think there might have been a few others, stragglers, but they marched. And they've done that for 150 years. I don't know about storms before. All I know is they never miss on Memorial Day. So to me, that's a really important thing for me to have upheld.
The department today, as the rest are busy helping with the parade as well as the regular duties. There's a lot going on. But here comes the Northampton Police Department. Give them a hand. Nice day for the ride to parade. Coming up, the USS Northampton Commemorative Bell. This one came from the cruiser USS Northampton. It was launched in 1951, commissioned in 53, served until 1970. And Florence focused its recruiting on volunteering.
Jerry Clark is at the bay.
By the council, by late resident of Northampton, Jack Joyce. Nice to see you. Northampton was a World War II veteran of the U.S. Navy. Served as a Northampton police officer for...
Passing us now is Gene DeFilippo Sr. He was a pilot in the Army Air Corps in World War II, flying B-24s. Gene is Northampton's adopted son, working as a teacher, vice principal, and football coach at Hamp High. Gene is accompanied by his wife, Ann.
Ryan, I want to stop the car and we can be the telephone and I want to stories about you in school. I want to know the exact number of days you were detention.
We don't have time for that today, guys. We need it. Thank you.
Here's the wonderful band. Holyoke Caledonia Band, headed by Florence Memorial. You can't fool me, I figured out that's the Caledonia Band. What a great idea it is. Since 1994, the organization has been providing homeless veterans with Sullivan.
Dennis, I think I see the Trinity Mobile Truck Center. They can go over there too. And I can see some other people in there. I can see Bill.
Drummers on the head! Red, hook!
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Steve Connor. I'm the Director of Central Hampshire Veterans Services and a member of the Veterans Council of Northampton. It is my honor to be with you as MC for this important occasion as we mark the 150th anniversary of the longest continuous running parade on Memorial Day in the country, and in observance of what was known as Decoration Day and now today is known as Memorial Day. On May 30th, 1868, 3 years after the Civil War ended, veterans from Northampton gathered and joined other veterans from all over the country for the first Decoration Day remembrance. They assembled and then they marched to cemeteries where they decorated the graves of the dead with flowers and memorialized their comrades who had died in the Civil War. As veterans, they followed the orders of Major General John A. Logan, the commander of the organization of Union veterans known as the Grand Army of the Republic, or the GAR. And anybody who's been in my building down at Memorial Hall, that was built by the Grand Army of the Republic here in Northampton. General Logan issued what was called General Order Number 11, which designated May 30th as Memorial Day. The date was chosen because flowers would be in bloom all over the country, and General's order directed veterans to decorate graves with the choicest flowers of springtime. He commanded one and all to guard their graves with sacred vigilance. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. Earlier this morning at Park Street Cemetery, just around the corner from here, near the Florence VFW, we continued that time-honored tradition with a ceremony that included decorating the graves of the veterans. And thanks to the Frontier Girls and the Girl Scouts for that. I appreciate it. By 1971, the United States Congress declared Memorial Day to be a national holiday observed on the last Monday in May. The veterans from Northampton continue to honor the day, and the villages of Florence and Leeds taking the lead in carrying out our responsibilities as citizens to honor the veterans who died in service to the nation. It also includes our parade. Rain or shine, without fail, always on the same day. Now, I had somebody ask me a question just a few days ago. It looks like it might rain. Are we still having the parade? I said, after 150 years, you bet. Memorial Day, everything should be focused on one singular and unifying principle, that the war dead cannot and will not be forgotten. This annual tradition has been made possible by the efforts of many people, but principally the Veterans Council of Northampton sitting up here in the front row, and great support from the Florence and Civic Business Association. Many of them were the people in blue shirts telling everybody where to go, and they did it nicely. I want to thank both groups for their tireless work to make this parade what it was today. This year, because it's the 150th, we expanded the parade route with all the support of our surrounding communities, moved to start the parade to 1 p.m. And boy, did that cause confusion for some people. And because of the number of people we expected, all of you, thank you, we also needed to reach out to the entire community for support. Here now to offer the invocation is Carl Grahowski, Chaplain of the Veterans Council of Northampton. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings as we gather here today to pay a special and most appropriate tribute to the men and women of our armed forces that gave the ultimate sacrifice of life. Father, we ask that you look kindly upon our fallen comrades and reward them with thy bravery and dedication to the enduring freedom of our country by bringing them into thy heavenly home. Lord, we ask that you watch over and bless our military, our disabled, PLWs, and MIAs, and all our veterans and their families, for all those who have lost loved ones. As we solemnly remember our fallen, let us not forget our servicemen and women who have served and have come home, and those that are here with us today. May we never forget all those men and women of the past and the present that are able to live in liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. God bless us and the United States of America. Amen.
Here to extend a welcome, a city's welcome to all the visitors and guests today is our Mayor David Narkowitz.
Thank you. It's a great privilege and honor to be here and to welcome you and to send greetings from the city of Northampton to this amazing community event. I want to first begin by introducing some of the dignitaries that are joining me on the podium. We're extremely honored to be joined today and to have him march in this historic parade. Our Congressman Jim McGovern, who's on the stage. We're also honored to have as our keynote speaker today, who's a Florence native, General Gary Keefe, who's the Adjutant General of the Massachusetts National Guard. And you have to be careful because you can't just say General Keefe, because actually then like 2-3 people will turn around. We're also extremely honored to have General Keefe's brother, General Jim Keefe, here, as well as his father, who I had the privilege of serving under in the National Guard, General George Keefe. So, that's 134 years of service combined to our country in the Air Force, and we are so grateful to the Keefe family and so glad that they could be with us today. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, actually, from West Springfield, the Mayor of West Springfield, who had a contingent here today and marched in the parade. Mayor Will Reichelt is on the podium. I'm also really pleased to be able to welcome and have you say hello to our longtime state senator, Stan Rosenberg, who's on the panel. I I also want to give a mention to the other elected officials who were in the parade today, members of our city council, our school committee, and the Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School Board of Trustees. So I want to thank them for being here. And then I'm extremely honored to be joined on the podium by Tracy Taylor. Some of you may have read about Tracy in the Gazette this weekend. Tracy is a Gold Star mother, and she is president of the American Gold Star Mothers of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And I also want to acknowledge on the stage Eric Segundo, who is the commander of the Mass Department of Veterans of Foreign Wars. As you can imagine, putting together this 150th parade was quite an undertaking, and there was an incredible outpouring of people and volunteers. You already heard about the sponsors, but this is an activity that got started last summer, shortly after the last Memorial Day parade. A group formed and began meeting on an almost monthly and then weekly basis. So I want to acknowledge the two co-chairs of that committee and parade marshals, Bob Kalane and Mike Flynn. And obviously the dozens and dozens and hundreds of people who came together to put the logistics of this incredible event together. We want to thank them. I also want to make note of the 3 honorary Grand Marshals for this year's parade, who you probably saw riding in vehicles in the parade. Proud to be joined as one of our honorary Grand Marshals by Edward Red Morrissey. Red was a U.S. Navy veteran of World War II. He was also a retired Northampton Police Department officer, and he, during his service, you may have heard the story, he was actually a cook, was at Pelaloon, the Battle of Peleliu, fed chow to his men, and at one point in the day, and none of those folks returned from battle. It was an incredible battle, and we appreciate his service to our country in World War II. Howard Anderson, our other parade Grand Marshal. Howard Anderson, right here. Howard was in the Air Force during the Korean War era, and he has been a fixture in the veterans community here in Northampton, and I don't know that he's actually missed a single parade since he came home from Korea, so we're honored to have him as one of our marshals this year. And then finally, Gene DeFilippo. Gene, who some of you may know as a former Northampton High School vice principal and football coach. A lot of players who played under the coach. He also was a World War II veteran and pilot, actually. He actually joined, when he joined, it was the Army Air Corps, and as he tells it, when he was discharged, it had then been turned into the Air Force. He flew B-24 missions in World War II. I think he told me earlier he'd flown his first 20 combat sorties before he turned 20 years old. So just an incredible former member of our community who also served his nation, and we're honored to have him as well as one of our co-chairs. So again, welcome. I've been asked many times over the last months and weeks about this parade, and the only thing I can come back to when I think about the fact that this community, in terms of the nation, not just the county or the state, but the entire United States, to have the longest continuously run parade on Memorial Day in the country, speaks to this community's commitment to the men and women who serve and who made the ultimate sacrifice. So I'm proud to be a resident of this community, and I'm extremely proud to be the mayor of this community. Thank you all again for coming.
Our keynote speaker today is Major General Gary W. Keefe, the Adjutant General of the Massachusetts National Guard. General Keefe is a native of Northampton, and as is his wife Allison, a teacher at Northampton High School. Although he travels extensively throughout the Commonwealth and is based out of Hanscom Air Force Base, he and Allison and his family still reside in Florence. They are the parents of Garrett, Bridget, and Shannon Keefe. As the Adjutant General, General Keefe oversees the strategic direction, administration, and operation.
We'll be here forever if you're going to read that.
Here's General Keefe.
This is a very special year. If you have any relatives at all that have walked these grounds of New England before you, you probably have ancestors that were part of the famed Yankee Division. And this is the year we celebrate 100 years of World War I. The Yankee Division was known as the first to fight. They were led by General Logan and General Edwards, two Massachusetts guardsmen that beat General Pershing to Europe to fight fascism. So that's one milestone we also have going on. The other milestone we're celebrating this year, and we're going to celebrate it for a few years, is the 50th commemoration of combat hostilities in Vietnam. So if you're a Vietnam veteran, I'd like you to stand up and allow us to thank you. And Jerry, I know you're one of them. We in this great community can take great pride in our community's history of service and sacrifice in the cause of American freedom. From even the earliest days of the Republic to the present. Here in Northampton, Massachusetts, the long line of military leadership and sacrifice is unmatched. General Seth Pomeroy, a Northampton blacksmith and gunsmith, was a lifelong member of the Massachusetts militia, both before, during, and after the Revolutionary War. He led troops in the Battle of Bunker Hill as a Major General in the militia. He was later commissioned as the first Brigadier General in the Continental Army of the United States and served as a delegate to the 1st and 2nd Provincial Congresses. During our Civil War, Company C, the 10th Massachusetts Regiment, was largely comprised of Northampton soldiers under the command of Northampton Captain Joseph Parsons. They saw actions at Malvern Hill, Chancellorsville, and Spotsylvania Courthouse, suffering as much from measles, typhoid, malnutrition, and smallpox as they did from combat. So severe were the conditions of their service and the fierceness of the combat they saw that only 220 of the original 1,000 members of the 10th Regiment returned to the Northampton, Massachusetts area. Northampton native and resident Frank Bois served as quartermaster on the USS Cincinnati during the Civil War. He endured the sinking of the ship in 1863 during the attack on Vicksburg. And 43 years later, in 1916, he was awarded the Medal of Honor for his service during that engagement. And just a few days ago, on May 24th, Northampton native and retired Navy SEAL, Master Chief Petty Officer Britt Slabinski. There you go, give him a hand. He received the Medal of Honor at the White House for his service in Afghanistan in March 2002 during Operation Anaconda. Master Chief Slabinski repeatedly risked his life under fire to rescue American service members standing at the top of Mount Kakuagar, a 10,000-foot peak. Notwithstanding facing superior forces, he led his team back to the mountaintop to rescue his fallen colleagues. Chief Slabinski is only the 12th living service member to receive the Medal of Honor for his bravery in Afghanistan. Today is a day of solemnity, and introspection, where each of us has an opportunity and the moral obligation to remember, and more importantly, honor the living as well as the dead. For every member of our military who served and died there's a family that shared that service and that sacrifice. Excuse me. Military families understand the hardship of separation and they worry that accompanies every deployment. They truly give of themselves as much as every soldier, sailor, Marine, airman, or Coast Guardsman. They are the foundation upon which our service is built. They are our military's greatest resource and our source of strength. Yet in the aftermath of conflict, after the dead are buried and the missions continue, the family is left behind and they can easily be forgotten. We must never forget our military families, especially the families of the fallen, those that we owe our deepest gratitude and respect, and who continue to embody resiliency and are the greatest source of our inspiration for all Americans, our Gold Star families. Just 1 week ago, I had the privilege of joining Governor Charlie Baker at the Massachusetts State House to present the Massachusetts Medal of Liberty to the families of Massachusetts service members who died in combat or a result of wounds received in combat in the service of the United States. On that day, we presented 14 Medals of Liberty in honor of the fallen Massachusetts service members whose lives and deaths represented the depth and breadth of American military sacrifice. And a litany of times and places recorded as the milestones of great and ongoing struggles between tyranny and democracy. Names like Bastogne, Guadalcanal, Anzio, Normandy, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. All soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen. For every fallen service member and for every Gold Star family, there is not only a common story of service and sacrifice, but also a unique story of hardship, loss, and absence. Absence from holidays, graduations, births, weddings, first steps of children, funerals, award ceremonies, and even the most mundane events in the lives of a community. For these families and their communities, every day is a constant reminder of what might have been, but now will never be. Their only comfort is the knowledge that each died doing what they believed in and gave all they had so that others may live, prosper, and enjoy the fullest life that America promises every citizen. Their deaths, like their lives, were truly acts of faith. Faith in America, faith in our communities, and above all, faith that we, their families, friends, neighbors, and colleagues, will live lives that honor their service and preserve what they defended. Nearly 100 years ago, the former mayor of Northampton, later to be governor of Massachusetts and President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge said, "A nation that forgets its defenders will soon be forgotten itself." So today, this Memorial Day, here in the grand city of Northampton, among friends, family, and neighbors, with the humility that living must always show when speaking of the dead, I join with you in taking heed of our former mayor's wise advice. Northampton has not forgotten and has proven time and again it will never forget. We will remember those names, whose names are inscribed on memorials across our nation. And equally, we will remember those who left and never returned. Their names long forgotten, their fates unknown even to this day. I would ask that the next time you happen to be walking down beautiful Main Street, you stop and just read the names on the War Memorial. It's located right next to City Hall, right in front of Memorial Hall, where Steve works, as he mentioned. When you look at that memorial, it lists the names of Northampton's fallen heroes. Family names such as Adams, Daly, Cons, Finn, Clark, Squires, Seraphin, Savino, and Trushaw. These are all generational names that still have relatives living in this great city of ours. Take the time to look at those names and commit them to memory. General George Patton once said, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." When you happen upon a Gold Star family member, like my friend Tracy Taylor, the last thing they want is your sympathy. What they want is just your thanks. They want you to know that you appreciated the sacrifice that their loved one made. Now we are the stewards of that legacy of honor, courage, and sacrifice. These have been handed down from one generation to the next. An unbroken train of service that throughout our history has defended our nation and upheld our national honor. Today, this Memorial Day, and every day, unified as Americans, let us remember those who have gone before us and commit ourselves to the lives as they did, with faith in our nation's core values of freedom, justice, and equality, and to serve as they did, with selfless courage in the face of adversity, that we preserve what they died defending, ensure that the promises of American liberty is fulfilled for all citizens, so this great nation of ours shall endure. Thank you for taking the time today to honor our fallen heroes. In closing, may God bless the nation's fallen heroes, wherever they may lie. May He God bless our Gold Star families. May He bless our Commonwealth and the great city of Northampton. And now forever I ask, may God bless the great United States of America. Thank you for your time today.